You asleep yet?
No.
Just checking.
Want to watch football without the restrictions of blackouts or cable? Check out expressvpn.com to help you get access to all the live games. Sign up today using the link in the description to get 3 free months. Yo, what up, Bolt fam? It's the director. Chargers fans. Do you smell that? Smells like victory. Welcome to our first Victory Monday episode of our post-game report, this time covering the Chargers versus Raiders game that transpired on Sunday. Man, dude, this one is special, man. This may have been one of the longest off seasons I can remember in a long time. It's because there was so much lead up into it, right? For months, we've been speculating on how this defense could look with the additions of, Khalil, Mack, JC, Sebastian Joseph Diggs, Bryce Callahan. It all came together on Sunday. And you know what? I feel like it exceeded expectations, at least for me, man. And boy, does it feel good to have a defense like this, man. And highlighted by, in this week, Khalil Mack. Khalil Mack is back, baby. To all the Raiders comments and tweets that I saw saying that Khalil Mack is washed up out here. I mean, the dude put up some spectacular stats on Sunday, which we're going to highlight in this one. Our off-season hype is 1,000,000% justified. And you know what? I think this defense could be the difference maker between, let's say, a 9-8 season and a 13-4 season, as well as provide a huge boost to our Super Bowl odds in 2022. Let's get into it, baby. Before we do, a friendly reminder, we got a giveaway going on, guys. We're giving away this signed Antonio Gates jersey to one of my lucky subscribers. All you got to do to enter for this one is hit up the link in the description, follow the instructions there, very simple, and make sure you subscribe. Only subs can win. But as always, we like doing giveaways in two, so we're also giving away this signed LaDainian Tomlinson jersey to one of my crew members. You guys do so much for my channel. Thank you for all your support. This is a thank you from me to you guys. All you got to do to enter for this one is be a member of my crew. That's it. We'll be drawing a winner here in the next couple of weeks. Question in the comments before we jump into this video, guys. How many sacks do you think Khalil Mack is going to produce in 2022? Keeping in mind his career high is 15 back in 2015. I would say he's off to a very good start. Before we do kick off, guys, hit us up with a like and sub if you do enjoy this Chargers content. The small amount of time you guys take to hit the like, sub, and bell notification helps me out a lot. Let's get into this one. Lights, camera, action. The Chargers versus Raiders, Week 1 post-game report, hashtag defensive domination. Now, I know there's going to be a lot of people asking, so we're going to address this first. What's going on with Keenan Allen? Looks like he tweaked his hamstring early in the first quarter. As far as I know right now, we're not sure when he's going to return, but it does seem like it's a bit far-fetched to think he's going to be back on Thursday, and we're going to get more into that on our Thursday preview episode, all right? So let's jump into what we saw in this game, starting with Khalil Mack, and you know what? Joey Bosa as well. This duo, which we've been hyping up so much over the offseason, is, matter of fact, the real deal. When you come down to brass tacks of it, man, this is going to be the one thing that I was super excited about in this game, at least the top thing that I was super excited about, seeing Joey Bosa, Khalil Mack, how that synergy is going to work in real-time football against a division rival like the Las Vegas Raiders. They delivered, man, 100 million%. And I think we do need to say that Khalil Mack, who said that he was hungry this offseason, definitely proved it and delivered it. He says, I'm going to show you. He showed it, man. 3 sacks, 3 tackles for loss, and a forced fumble. Khalil Mack, because everything is advertised, man. When we were talking about how impactful this trade was going to be this offseason, this is exactly what we had in mind. Because like we say all the time, almost like the butterfly effect, right? Whatever happens at the defensive line, at the the lowest level, is going to have an effect throughout the entire defense. Those linebackers are going to have better positioning for interceptions and plays. Those defensive backs aren't going to have to cover as long, which could result in interceptions. And I think we saw examples of that throughout the entire game on Sunday. Bosa and Khalil Mack, man, what a show. I think there's a clip of me on Twitter somewhere where I'm screaming, Khalil Mack. It's because it all came to a close, at least in the terms of our speculation. Like, finally, we've been vindicated in these speculations in terms of how big a Khalil Mack is going to be for this team, and it absolutely came true on Sunday. Let's also talk a little bit about Joey Bosa, man, who was a wrecker out there too. He logged a sack on Davante Adams. They tried that trick play. It did not work. He blew up Derek Carr into Davante Adams, which resulted in an Adams sack. He also logged a tackle for loss and a forced fumble. Fun fact, Joey Bosa now has a sack and a forced fumble in his last 3 straight games versus the Raiders. Very excited to see this tandem come to work. And you know what? It really does speak to Brandon Staley and how he's constructed this defense as well, because those, 4 sacks weren't the only ones we saw in that game. We saw one by Darwin James, who was blitzed off the edge. We saw half a sack by Morgan Fox as well, which resulted in 6 total sacks versus the Raiders on Sunday. I knew that we're going to see quite a few, man, because of how bad the offensive line is for the Raiders. But 6 sacks, even against a team like that, very, very impressive. So Chargers fans, we had something to get very excited about this offseason. It's 100% been justified. Joey Bosa, Khalil Mack have just made a statement to the rest of the NFL that they are, without a doubt, one of the, if not the best, pass rushing tandem in the NFL, man. This is absolutely so insane. I'm so excited to live in this world. Every day I wake up feeling like it was all a dream. We didn't get Khalil Mack. It became a reality on Sunday. Speaking of which, I wanted to give a nod to Darwin James, man. I just wanted to kind of give, credit where credit's due. Darwin James, the whole plan to free him up and get him all over the field, utilize him as that prime chess piece, right? He showed it on Sunday, man. He was being played everywhere. We saw him in what they call the X position, which is kind of your hybrid safety edge player. And he got after Derek Carr and logged a sack in that game. He was all over the middle of the field as a linebacker. He played a little bit of slot, helping contain Davante Adams best he could. And, of course, plenty of play at the safety position. This was the vision for Darwin James, and it came true on Sunday as well. So that's one to keep a close eye on, man. I do think Darwin's going to have some nice stats at the end of the year, and he checks off his first one with a sack in week 1 versus the Raiders. You know what? I do want to highlight a little bit about the plan, right? The big picture. I feel like, and I stated this several times through the offseason, that every move seemed calculated with a big priority in front of it, and that was called the turnover ratio. Right? The Chargers DBs looked fantastic on Sunday. Asante Samuel Jr., Bryce Callahan, even a linebacker and Drew Tranquill all logged picks on Sunday versus the Raiders. 3 picks on Derek Carr. Very, very impressive. And it's because I believe, again, that Brandon Staley handpicked guys that knew his system, knew his scheme, but more importantly, above all else, had playmaking potential. This even, trickled down into our depth pieces in the draft. Those late draft selections, Jasir Taylor, Dean Leonard, JT Woods, all these guys have playmaking potential, and we saw that on display on Sunday. Bryce Callahan, of course, can be a ball hawk, especially with the kind of positioning that he displayed versus, I think it was Hunter Renfrow on that play. Asante Samuel Jr., the steal for the Chargers last year, logging an impressive interception versus Davante Adams, of all players. And then Drew Tranquill positioning himself right in front of Darren Waller to log his pick as well. This was a big priority, improving that turnover ratio, and the Chargers were big-time winners on Sunday. What was it? 3 interceptions. I think both of those forced fumbles, one of them on 4th down, the other one being recovered by the Raiders, weren't turnovers for the Chargers. But you know what? The Bolts did not commit a single turnover either, which does make the Chargers big winners in that stat category. And it's one that I think is going to carry throughout the rest of the season. I think the Chargers are going to be one of those teams that becomes known for their takeaways on defense, making them that much scarier to face if you're an opposing team. And the Chargers did a great job to score even after a couple of those opportunities. They did a great job in scoring, I'll say, after the Drew Tranquill interception. I think that was the DeAndre Carter touchdown that we saw. But I also do have to note, with that improvement on the turnover ratio, we need to capitalize on these opportunities just a little bit better. We ended up punting after that Asante Samuel Jr. pick, which is understandable because he did pick it at the 2-yard line, and the Chargers just weren't able to find any room to get operating there. But we did miss a field goal after this interception by Bryce Callahan. I love seeing the turnover ratio go in the right direction, but I also want to see the team help themselves by improving on capitalizing on those opportunities. Next up, let's talk a little bit about the run defense. Okay, so there's a couple of things here. It's kind of a double-edged sword, right? The Chargers looked great versus the Raiders in the first half when it came to defending the run. They really were going nowhere. The second half, however, we did see a little bit of momentum beginning to snowball for their running back, Josh Jacobs. He started gashing in the second half. But I will say, even with all that being said and Josh Jacobs having himself a pretty decent day on the ground, the Raiders would end the day with just 64 yards on 13 attempts. Yes, 4.9 yards per carry, but the Chargers just were not giving them a lot of room in the first half. The second half, though, I hope we do see a little bit more. Maybe that's where we saw a lot of Jerry Tillery. Who knows? But I would like to see a little bit more in terms of consistency in that run defense. But great job by Austin Johnson, Sebastian Joseph Day. Those guys were definitely huge difference makers in this game, and one that I do continue to think that are going to improve as the season goes on. Speaking of that defense, man, we got a couple more in here, right? Hello, linebackers. This was one of those positions that I think we're like, oh, man, if we have a weakness on defense, it's going to be those linebackers, right? No, dudes, these guys were shining on Sunday. Of course, Drew Tranquil made that huge play, interception right under the nose of Darren Waller. But I also wanted to highlight a couple other guys, man. Kenneth Murray. Bravo, man. He was one of my players to be one of the biggest comeback players of the year for the Chargers. I think he's going to end up being the case. And he was off to a great start on his comeback season, man. He looked very sharp in coverage. I think there was a very difficult play, maybe a wheel route by the running back, which he was right there, right in the right spot. Great positioning, made a play on that ball. Ended up going incomplete, but Kenneth Murray versus the run, versus the pass, he's been looking fantastic, as well as Kyle Van Noy, who I did want to highlight. Kyle Van Noy, man, he seems like the perfect complement to Joey Bosa and Khalil Mack. We were talking a lot about how they're going to use Kyle Van Noy, right? Maybe in coverage a little bit as a linebacker, maybe coming off the edge a little bit, as a pass rusher, rotating with Joey Bosa, Khalil Mack, which we saw a little bit of that, on Sunday as well. But where I was the most impressed is where they lined him up as a blitzing inside linebacker. You would often see him maybe sometimes lined up as a defensive end even next to Joey Bosa or Khalil Mack, and he brought a lot of force from that linebacker spot, or even from, let's say, the end spot even. He was utilized all over that defensive line, and it felt really, really great to see the Chargers find a way to get such a talented veteran involved as much as possible, and he was a big difference maker that game as well. So next up, let's talk a little bit about the offense, right? The defense, definitely the highlight of the day, but the offense had some great plays too, and this segment's called Check Out the New Guys, man. Fun fact, every Chargers touchdown scored this week was scored by a brand new addition to the team, highlighted by guys like, let's say here, Gerald Everett, man. Powerful back pedal into the end zone by Gerald Everett. We knew that he was going to have the yak, right? He was going to bring the yak to the team. He ended up bringing in a pass, 7-8 yards away from the end zone. Back pedaled his way while also walking the tightrope and getting his way into the end zone for his first touchdown as a Los Angeles Charger. He's going to be a big difference maker going down the stretch, man. I talked a lot about who I was expecting to have a good game this game. Well, we got one from the tight end. And just like Jared Cook did last season versus the Raiders, I think he put up 80 and 70 yards in those contests. Gerald Everett put up a very nice stat line while also adding a touchdown to that game on Sunday. Very, very nice. The first touchdown of the game was actually scored by our 7th-round pick in Xander Horvath. I know there's a lot of Horvath believers out there, myself included. That just fueled the flames, man. He looked great as a fullback and providing blocking for Austin Eckler, but he also looked very good as a receiving option. I think the announcer even announced him as a tight end when he scored that touchdown. That was an underneath pass by Justin Herbert to Xander. Very nice. And the first touchdown of the season for the Chargers came by the hands of Xander Horvath. Very exciting. Then finally we had DeAndre Carter, who looked fantastic as well. The DeAndre Carter being that, let's say, preseason darling, right? The camp star, the training camp star. He got in there for a fantastic touchdown. Beautiful pass by Justin Herbert, threading the needle in between two defenders, but even better positioning, I would say. I would say pretty good positioning, too, by DeAndre Carter, getting in there and securing that pass for the touchdown. So, bravo and hats off to the new guys, man. They look absolutely fantastic. If anything, it tells you that Justin Herbert's the kind of quarterback that's not going to discriminate for his targets. He's going to pass to the open man. Speaking of Justin Herbert, man, this dude, Justin's going to lead us to the postseason. He really is. This is a very special quarterback that the Chargers have, and he's picking up right where he left off. Herbert was as perfect as you can play from the quarterback position this week, spreading the ball around, finding the open man, committing 0 turnovers, and looking as good as you can, right? 26 completions on 34 attempts for 279 yards, and of course, the 3 touchdowns. He looked as good as you could possibly imagine. Passer rating of 129.4. Very, very, very nice day for Justin Herbert. And some of the throws that we were seeing were unbelievable. There was one that he had pressure right in his face. I think there was contact even as he was letting go of the ball. He ended up ending that play on his knee, and that ended up being a huge completion for the Chargers, which I think that drive ended up in a score as well. Justin Herbert, man, he's the real deal. We've been talking about it for a long time now. Part of me is not surprised, but I am just always impressed every time I see Justin Herbert out there. But I do have to give and tip my hat to this offensive line as well, right? Tip of the hat to Pip and the offensive line. Trey Pipkins, man. You know what, for so much hype, and this is something I heard all week long, that Max Crosby and Chandler Jones are going to eat Justin Herbert alive. A lot of that had to do with Justin Herbert and his ability to escape and find an open man, but I would also have to give credit to the offensive line, man, for how much hype we heard for Max Crosby and Chandler Jones. These guys logged 0 sacks on Sunday. Very, very impressive. Of course, we did see some pressures from Max Crosby, a couple of plays where Trey Pipkins failed on the right side. But you know what? This unit did their job. 0 sacks for the Raiders on Sunday, and it allowed Justin Herbert to have a fantastic day and ultimately led to the Chargers scoring just enough to stay ahead of the Raiders so that their defense can clean up the game and get this win in the books, man. From left to right, this unit did their job. Rashawn Slater, Matt Filer, Corey Linsley, Zion Johnson, the rookie, who looked fantastic. And then, of course, Trey Pipkins all held up in this one versus a very good Raiders defensive line. You got to give credit where credit's due, man. That offensive line held up beautifully. Now, one concern I did have from this game on Sunday, though, was that running game a little bit. Not the best week for the Chargers, maybe not the worst. The Chargers would ultimately log 76 yards collectively on the ground. Definitely not bad, but I would like to see a little bit of improvement going into week 2, which is coming up on Thursday versus the Kansas City Chiefs. The Chargers, I would say, specifically did struggle to run up the middle, which is this is something that the Chargers were really trying to hit hard this offseason. How do we help the Chargers and this team a little bit more effectively up the middle? I would say everybody struggled except for Xander Horvath, and that got me so excited early on, man. Xander Horvath handed it off to him directly at the fullback position, and he pounded his way up the middle to convert a 3rd down into a 1st down. And that's something I hope to see more consistently. I was kind of flabbergasted when the Chargers, especially on that 4th down attempt, did not hand it off to their fullback, who's already proven to me, at least, to be one of the best options in those situations. I will, however, say that Joshua Kelly looked fantastic as the backup running back to Austin Eckler, and Eckler himself looked very good too. I was actually a little bit surprised to see him not as involved this game, but I do think you were going to see him get more touches as the year goes on. Maybe they're just smoothing their way into the whole running back situation as a whole, right? Who do we have behind Austin Eckler? How much should we use Austin Eckler? I think we're going to see a bit more, especially on Thursday versus the Kansas City Chiefs. Finally, a couple other things. Mike Williams. Where was Big Mike this game? That was a bit concerning to me. Of course, Mike Williams, who just signed a huge contract with the Chargers, he was kind of absent in this one, right? It's kind of crazy we didn't see a bigger day from Big Mike, especially with Keenan Allen going out so early in this game. He would end the day 2 receptions on 4 targets for 10 yards. And the biggest reason why I'm especially shocked is because I think the coverage guy on him was going to be Anthony Averett, who really isn't the best cornerback in the league. I think outside the top 90, he only stands 5'11" to Big Mike's 6'4". It was a perfect mismatch, right? Yet we did not see much of it. As a matter of fact, Averett ended up getting injured in that game, in which Mike Williams should have seen even better terms of a mismatch in coverage, right? We should have seen more Mike than we saw, and that is a little bit concerning. I do think we shouldn't be worried quite yet, not until at least week 2. Mike Williams has consistently been that kryptonite to the Kansas City Chiefs, and I do think we're going to see plenty of him on Thursday night. But if he continues to be absent, especially with the absence of Keenan Allen, maybe we got to look a little bit deeper into it. But for right now, I'm not going to worry too much about it. But at the same time, it's something to point out. And finally, the finale here, man. that special teams unit. I was very, very worried about the special teams going into this game because they looked so bad in the preseason. However, they looked fantastic on Sunday, highlighted by our punter, J.K. Scott. I don't think I've seen, in my live streams before, like, hey, man, 16's in the chat for the punter so many times. He had 4 punts for almost 200 yards in this game. That's 50 yards per punt. That is absolutely unbelievable. And this adds just to, let's say, the utility belt of a Brandon Staley of what he can do in certain situations. I feel a lot more comfortable punting it away with a guy like J.K. Scott, which we know can get consistent distance on it, as well as complementing him with our defense, who can definitely be that difference maker. I have no issue handing the game out to the defense, saying, hey, man, go out there, do what you need to do. Let's close this thing out. And that's exactly what happened in the fourth quarter for the Chargers. Bravo to J.K. Scott and the special teams unit, man. DeAndre Carter, I do also have to highlight here. Very smart returner. I don't think he returned a single ball that game. It's because he didn't have to. Plenty of punts or kick returns going into the end zone. Those definitely you don't have to take a chance on. But there was one in particular where he had the ball bounce in front of him. And if it were me, I would have, bolted after that ball and started running up the sideline with a little bit of space. But he recognizes the trajectory of that kick and lets it roll out of bounds at the 1, which of course results in a penalty, giving the Chargers the ball at the 40-yard line. These are the things, man. These are the little details and little differences you're going to see with these players versus what we've seen in the past. And it's definitely paying off for the Chargers. Also, the coverage unit, very, very, very good. Didn't think we'd have this long of a segment for special teams, but guys, hear me out. Hunter Renfrow had 2 returns in this game. Can you guess for how many yards? 4 yards. 2 yards per return. That's just, again, hats off. Bravo to the special teams. Everything came together in that game, and they look very, very good. They're off to a very good start this season. And finally, the last thing I needed to mention, not really a segment, but more of a statement, okay? This Chargers victory, highlighted by a dominant performance by the defense. I must remind you, Chargers fans, all of this happened despite the Chargers missing J.C. Jackson, who we're very hopeful to see return on Thursday. All of this without our best defensive back on the field. This bodes so well for the Chargers going forward. I'm very excited to see 27 take the field. Almost equally as excited as I was for kickoff this week. Now we get to see JC make his Chargers debut versus the Kansas City Chiefs. Hopefully, fingers crossed, but I do expect to see him out there that game. So my bottom line in this one, man, very excited to see the Chargers back. Huge victory for them on Sunday. Defense looks as dominant as ever. Offense looks very good. I do think that they're going to improve as the season goes on, but this was absolutely fantastic, man. In a season where the AFC West has loaded up, any victory inside the division is very big. The Chargers did a great job in trying to contain Davante Adams as much as they could. He got 17 targets that game, so what are you going to do? But despite that, the Chargers defense came up big. This team is looking as complete as ever. One of my few criticisms of this game, probably being the biggest one as a matter of fact, is going to be the play calling by Joe Lombardi, though. Like I mentioned, the offense needs to get into a better rhythm, in my opinion, but I do think that's going to come as we go on. And I do think the first time we're going to see some improvement, and that's going to be on Thursday versus the Chiefs. So let me know what you guys think in the comment section below, man. What did you think of this game? Very exciting one, none the least. And I do think that Khalil Mack, man, made a statement this game. The Chargers, without a doubt, one of the best pass rushing duos in the NFL, as well as one of the best defenses as a whole, especially with J.C. Jackson on his way back to the team, hopefully in his debut on Thursday night. Well, guys, get ready for the Thursday night game, the Chargers versus Kansas City Chiefs. Of course, we're going to get our game preview video out a little bit earlier this week. I think it's going to be out either Wednesday or Tuesday, so keep an eye out for that, but it's going to be a very exciting one, guys. Guys, thank you so much for joining me. Remember to hit up the link in the description if you want to enter for that Antonio Gates jersey, as well as hit us up on your way out if you did enjoy this content with a like and sub. Guys, thank you so much for joining me. This has been the Director. Congratulations to the Chargers. We'll see you Thursday, as always, with that live stream. It's going to be a lot of fun. And as always, bolt up, stay frosty. My apologies to that of a Derek Carr, man. I know he's probably feeling a little bit sore this morning.